take the opening prayer. Shall we please pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this evening. We thank you for even the opportunity to gather for such a time as this. We pray that you, O Lord, will guide us. Pray that you give us insights. You lead your people to speak to us. May we receive from them and may we receive insights and may our lives be transformed as a result of whatever we hear tonight. In Jesus' name, we pray with so much thanksgiving. Amen. Can I kindly see your reactions if you are fully ready for tonight's event? I want to see your reactions. Your reactions. Thank you, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Muti. Thank you, Dr. Vanessa. Thank you, Dr. Mausi. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you very much. Thank you, Clarinda. Thank you, Benjamin. God bless you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I like how we've started. I hope we maintain it throughout. So there's a popular quote which I believe was written in the 12th century by the French philosopher Bernard of Chazres, and it was rewritten by Sir Isaac Newton. And I think most of us are familiar with this quote. It says that if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Yes, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. And this evening, I believe we have giants among us who we are privileged to be receiving from. And for every vision, there's someone who receives a vision, and the person with the guidance of God decides to run with the vision. So tonight, we have our convener who I believe received the vision and for a while now has been running with the vision. So with excitement and applause and distinct diverse reactions, I would like us to receive and hear from Dr. Vanessa Abokomakwe. If you're excited, please show some reactions for Dr. Vanessa, even as she speaks.
Thank you very much, Doreen. I'm very much excited to be here. That's quite a lot of adjectives for me, but I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be a part of this, not majorly as a convener, but part of the vision that we all carry. So once again, welcome everyone to day one of Foreign Medical Transitions 2026. And I'm truly excited to welcome you to today's session. On behalf of the Med Transitions Global team, I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for joining us this evening. And we know that many of you have busy schedules. Some of you are probably having lectures or have clinical rotations, or maybe you're even on call. But making time to be here is something that we don't take lightly. So thank you very much for being here. And whether you're joining us from Ghana or any parts of the world, whether you are a medical doctor, a medical student, a house officer, just know that you are home. Some of you may be wondering how this came about, but last year we had a program just like this, and following the success of it, we realized that it has to be a tradition we continue. And that's why we are looking to bring healthcare professionals who share one goal. How exactly can we explore the opportunities of international medical training that is beyond what we have in Ghana? To be honest with you, times in Ghana are looking very hard. And the best way to move forward is have all the ammunitions to help you grow in your career, not just as a doctor, but as someone who is willing to make impact. And I'm sure many of you here are probably joining with questions running through your minds. Like, where do I begin? Which pathway is right for me? What exams do I need to write? Is this journey really possible for me? And I know people have asked themselves these questions. And it's exactly for these questions that we are here. We are here to try and then make this simple, provide practical guidance, have annexed conversations, and provide you with first-hand experiences of what doctors would allow them to have successful training in there. I want to especially honor Dr. Michael and then Dr. Muti for being here. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy clinical schedules to be with us and inspire the next generation of healthcare professionals. And to everyone joining us, I encourage you to participate actively. Ask questions when you have to. Make sure that you're taking notes and making the most of this opportunity. Because sometimes just one insight, one conversation, or one piece of advice can really shape the trajectory of your career. Thank you once again for being here, and it's truly our pleasure to host you. And I wish everyone an engaging and insightful, impactful session. Welcome to Med Transitions. Welcome to Following Medical Transitions 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vanessa. Can we give a round of applause? Can we show our excitement through the reactions? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, to the main reason why we are here this evening. So, as we are all aware, today we'll be having two speakers, and there will be two sessions, and tomorrow we'll have the other two. So, today we'll be starting with someone I consider a well of wisdom. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our speaker for this session, the first session, Dr. Muti Kwatma Ajikum. So Dr. Ajikum is an international medical graduate from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana. Currently, she serves as a clinical assistant at the Viva Medical Clinic in Ontario, Canada. Throughout her medical journey, she has consistently demonstrated excellence in leadership, service, and academic achievement. As a medical student, she served as the General Secretary of the CAT JCR, the Health Officer for Nooks Ken UST, and a member of the 12th Ken UST Parliamentary Council. Her outstanding contributions earned her the prestigious Nooks Female Personality of the Year Award in 2021. Today, Dr. Ajikum is a Canadian permanent resident and a licentiate of the Medical Council of Canada. She has successfully completed the Medical Council of Canada qualifying examination and the National Assessment Collaboration Objective Structured Clinical Examination, which is the NAC-OSCE. She is currently pursuing residency training in Canada while passionately mentoring fellow international medical graduates through the Canadian Medical Licensing Pathway. Her professional interests span across family medicine, preventive health care, medical education, public health, and also career development for international medical graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to welcome a leader, mentor, and an inspiring physician. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Muti Kwatma Ajikum. Thank you, everyone. Dr. Muti, please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. That was a lot. Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Emanuela, for all this, and thank you to Med Transitions Global for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge that I have acquired and accumulated all this period throughout my journey. It hasn't been easy, but I want you to know that this is possible with the right guidance. So I'm just quickly going to share my slides so that we can all have. Yeah. So do you see my slides?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you see my slides? Okay, great. So I'm going to talk about navigating the pathway to medical practice in Canada, and this will be a guide for international medical graduates. So let's begin. I think all the introduction has been done, so I think we can skip this slide. Yeah. So, but just a quick one. My name is Dr. Ajikun, and I graduated from KNUST, and I'm just like you and IMG, trying to pursue my career in Canada. So yeah, so for our learning objectives today, by the end of this session, we'll be looking at the structure of the Canadian healthcare system, the routes available for IMGs, licensing and examination requirements, some of the residency pathway and some specialty pathway. I mean, I know most of us are MOs or still medical students. So we will get to know more and the immigration considerations we need to know, strategies to improve the competitiveness, like for yourself, and career opportunities after training. All right, so let's delve in. So first, you'd ask yourself the question, why Canada? Yeah, that was a question that I asked myself, and I know most of you would be considering, like, wondering why Canada. So first and foremost, for Canada, there are so many benefits you get. The healthcare system is really, really quality here in Canada. You will realize it and experience it for yourself once you are in the country. There's a strong demand for physicians currently. I don't know whether you read online, they have been posting out, and there's these news descriptions about needing more physicians in Canada. And there's a competitive physician's salary. I mean, far, far, far way better than being in Ghana and or even Africa in general. Then there's an excellent work balance. You are able to like put work plus your busy schedule as like a female and male, wherever you find yourself, you'll be able to fit really well there. Then the opportunities for specialization is enormous, and that is one good advantage you get here. And also the permanent residency pathway. You know that with permanent residency, it gives you the opportunity to enter into other countries. Some of them may even be visa free with the permanent residency and the citizenship, Canadian citizenship that you would be getting. So now let's look at the Canadian healthcare and medical education system. So for the Canadian healthcare system, one thing that I have really, really enjoyed is a publicly funded system. So the government of Canada uses the taxes that is paid to support and fund the healthcare system, meaning healthcare system for most is free. Once you have the health card, it's free, like everything you do, from seeing a doctor to doing investigations to doing surgeries, whatever you do is free in Canada. So that is one benefit and one advantage you get with the healthcare system in Canada. And it's universal care, healthcare system. Wherever you find yourself, you would get access, whichever province you find yourself in Canada. Once you have the the health card, you will get the opportunity to be seen by a physician, and it is also administered by provinces. So depending on which province that you find yourself, we have different health cards. For I am in Ontario, so we have something called Ontario health card that you'll be given once you are in this province, and regardless of which province you find yourself, you will get access to healthcare wherever you are in Canada. Then physicians are paid by the government of Canada. So most physician services are covered. So everything that you do, like truthfully, you are not paying for. You are not paying a dime for anything you do in Canada. That's the thing for the healthcare services. So that is the overview of the Canadian. That is one very big advantage, because once you have the health card, you are able to access quality healthcare service, not just anything, quality healthcare services in the big hospitals, in the small clinics, wherever you find yourself, and it is free of charge. So let's look at the key stakeholders in Canada. So we have those that work and enhance the healthcare service in Canada. It includes the Health Canada, Provincial Ministry of Health, medical regulatory authorities, Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada, and College of Family Physicians of Canada. Of course, I'm very much interested in medicine, so that's why I put the College of Physicians of Canada, Family Physicians of Canada, so to there. So now let's look at the medical training pathway in Canada. So for a normal, I'll say a Canadian or someone who studied in Canada, you go through the medical school. For them, they don't go through the medical officer pathway that we go through straight away to residency program. Then after the residency program, you do your certification programs. Then you write the board exams. Then after you write your board exams, you can practice as an independent practitioner. So that is the pathway for them. Then for us as IMGs, we have eligibility criteria you need to know as an IMG. So for the eligibility criteria in Canada, first we look at who an IMG is. I've been mentioning international medical graduate a lot. So for anyone who graduated outside Canada or graduated outside the United States, you are an IMG. That is an international medical graduate. And any Canadian citizen, even if you are a citizen and you trained abroad, you are still considered as an IMG. So we are all IMG since we all graduated outside Canada. Then for the basic eligibility criteria, first you need your educational requirements to show that indeed you have gone through the medical training, then the medical degree from a recognized school, and of course, almost all, I think all the universities in Ghana are recognized schools that you can verify your medical degree through. Then we have the verified credentials. That's the verification of your credentials as a medical doctor. Then one important examination you need to remember to you'll be writing would be the English proficiency exam. Of course, our medical school was taught in English, but I mean you need to show proof that indeed you were taught in English. And there are some of these exams, including the IELTS academic, and we have the CELPIP, and we have the OETs. A lot of exams out there that can be used during this criteria. Then we have the French requirements. There are some provinces in Canada, like Quebec, that require French for you to be able to work or start residency program there. So that would be the basic eligibility criteria in Canada. Then I talked about one particular one, that's the verified credentials. So for the credential verification for Canada, all IMGs are required to go through a portal called the physiciansapply.ca, and that is the recognized portal to which IMGs who are planning on doing their residency or working here as physicians have to go through. Make sure you have to create that account, and after creating that account, that is where you'll be doing all your source verifications. And what I mean about source verification is you'll be verifying your medical diploma, you'll be verifying your licensure documents and identity verifications, and they are all very important for you to do, because without this first step, you cannot move on in this journey. So that is the physiciansapply.ca. You can always check online. I mean, if you have any further questions, you can always ask us. Whilst we are discussing this, you can check the Physician Apply CA. If you have any questions, you can always ask me at the end of this presentation. So yeah, so that would be it, the physiciansapply.ca. So now let's move on to the licensing exams and the registration. So for Canada, I know there's not a lot of information out there for Canada, and people seem to think it's very difficult to get into Canada. But the truth be told, once you go through the steps that is outlined here with the right guidance, Canada is like a very calm and like very reassuring country for you to easily enter and fit in as a doctor. And for that, first you need to go through the credential verification. And for the credential verification, as I stated earlier, that is going through the physicianapply.ca for you to be able to show that indeed you are truly a medical doctor. Then comes the most challenging part, which would be with the examinations. So for Canada, there are two examinations that are currently being used to assess international medical graduates, and that is the Medical Council of Canada qualifying exams and the National Assessment Collaboration OSCE exams. And for the MCCQE one for short, MCCQE, this exams is an objective exams, it's a clinical exams. It tests your knowledge. And one thing that we didn't go deep into as a medical students back in Ghana is ethics. It tests your knowledge on a lot of like the whole thing that you did in medical school, that is specifically in the clinical years. And also ethics like is one major thing that is assessed here in Canada. So that is what the MCCQE is about. Then the NACOSCI also tests your ability to communicate with patients, your ability to act as a safe doctor. And these examinations are equivalent to a graduate who just finished the medical degree. So that is these examinations. So after these examinations and you pass, the next step would be two pathways. So those are the major pathways that we take. It's either you are going through the resident pathway or you are going through something called a practice route, which I'll be explaining very well. Then after those pathways, you write the licensing examination. Then after the licensing examination, you can now start working as an independent practitioner. So now let's look at the residency pathway or the practice routes pathway so that you would understand very well. So for the residency and the special pathways, first for the residency application, once you have finished these two examinations, the MCCQE and the NAC-OSCE, you can apply for residency. And for application of residency, it is through a Canadian resident matching service. That's the CAMS. That is the process through which you can register, and you can apply to all streams of like the specialties. But there are some competitive specialties that you would want to like reconsider, and there are those that are IMGs friendly, and those things can also be just you can really check online. But those IMG friendlies are the family medicine, psychiatry, emergency medicine, and I think internal medicine. Those four are really IMG friendly, and you can always apply to any of those ones. But the others, I mean, surgery is kind of IMG friendly, but the slots are very limited for IMGs. So that pathway becomes a little bit competitive. So that is the residency pathway. Then we have the special pathways. The special pathway in Canada mainly is called the practice ready assessment. So for the practice ready assessment, just like the residency, after you do your first MCCQE, NACOSCE, you can apply for the practice ready assessment. And that is mainly for physicians who have been practicing for a while back in their home countries. So let's say you've been in practice for more than a year or two. Some provinces, every province and their requirements. Some of them look at 2 years, some of them look at 1 year, depending on the province. And some of them look at those who are already specialists. So you need to look at the provincial requirements for the practice ready assessment. So if you are someone who is already in residency or is a specialist, you don't need to go through the pathway of going back into residency. There are other pathways that are equally very good, which includes the practice ready assessment. For those who are fellows or specialists, they can actually also go through the College of Physicians to write their board exams directly by making sure that they have gone through the verifications of their credentials. They can go directly through writing the exams, and they would be assessed for a couple of years. Some take 2, some take 3 years, depending on the province and also the specialty. Then they will allow you to start working as an independent practitioner. And as I said, it goes through the Royal College assessment route, and it is mainly for the experienced physicians and the certain internationally trained specialists. Yeah, so for us who were MOs, that wouldn't be mainly be our pathway. The residency would be something that you would be trying to reach out for. So that is the special pathway that we have. So for me, that's I'm very interested in family medicine and women health and public health. I'm gonna give you a breakdown on what is happening in on my side. So it would be from the MCCQE. The first would be the source verification, definitely, of course, through the physicianapply.ca. Then you go to the MCCQE, the NAC-OSCE, then you go to the CAMS matching. So after the CAMS matching is literally the residency pathway. So after the residency matching, once you are matched, you go through a 2-year residency program. During that time, you can decide to add other things. The reason why I personally like family medicine is that it gives you a broader range. So instead of just doing family medicine, you can go into women health in your second year of residency and do an additional 1 year. You can go through emergency medicine, and there are other pathways, a lot of pathways that family medicine gives you the opportunity to branch into. But others like the internal medicine and others, you can't really branch into any other thing. Once you are in internal medicine, you are in internal medicine. That's why personally I like family medicine. Then after the 2-year residency program, you write your board certifying examination. Then now you become an independent practitioner. So that would be for the residency pathway. So now, of course, I have told you a lot now, but now I need to inform you that in Canada, for you to be able to work as a physician, you need to get your immigration sorted out. That is the only big deal about Canada. So for you to even be a resident, you need to have gotten your permanent residency, or you should be a Canadian citizen. That is the only thing about Canada. Then for you to write the second part of the exams, which is the NACOSKI, you should be in the country. The first part, which is the MCCQE, can be written in your home country. So I wrote the QE1 in Ghana. That time it was called MCCQE1, but now it's MCCQE. So I wrote it in Ghana. Then I moved here thereafter to come and write the NACOSKI. So for the pathways, there are different routes for you to come in. The temporary routes, the major one that is known is the temporary resident visa. That is the visitor's visa. And for the visitor's visa, I mean, the only thing you can come and do with it, it would be to write the NACOSKI. You would need to go back. Yeah, so that's for the temporary route. Then we have the work permit. We have one called the open work permit, where you can get opportunity to work during the time period where you are in Canada. But that work permit is limited. Once you are using the open work permit, you should be working on getting your permanent residency because it's a short period of time. Then we have the permanent routes. For the permanent routes, that is the permanent residency. And for that, there is a portal called Express Entry. So for Canada, since we are medical doctors, there's like one big advantage we get for in Canada. Canada has a pathway called the Express Entry, which allows you to put in your like your information credentials as a medical doctor, and it accumulates score, and a score that is high enough, they give you something called like they kind of give you the opportunities to submit your documents for you to get the permanent residency. So that is called an invite, an invitation for you to get a permanent residency. And that was the pathway I took. Whilst I was working on doing the first part of the exams, I was also working on the permanent residency pathway. Of course, I didn't do it on my own. I had assistance from a team, so I won't be able to give you so much details on the immigration pathway, but if you require assistance, I could always direct you over to the team that helped me out. But like I can give you more information on the proper the examinations and other things. Yeah. Then we have another one called the provincial nominee programs. So for the provincial nominee program, sorry. So for the provincial nominee program, that one is also still through the express entry. But for that one, the province nominates you that, okay, they deem you like a good or a profitable person for the province. And for that, they would like for you to get the opportunity to come into the province. And for that, they give you the opportunity to, they give you some extra marks or bonus that allows you to go through the express entry route and be able to get an invite for you to be given the permanent residency, permanent residency. I know the immigration pathway is a whole lot of like it's a jungle, so I will just leave everything to anyone who wants more information can always reach out. I will let you know the team that helped me out, and they can also help you out because, yeah, you need it for the residency program. Then now let's look at some of the challenges and solutions. So for the challenges, for an IMG, the biggest challenge would be the examination. The examination, with my experience, the MCCQE, I needed to sit down to study. So I had to quit certain things I was doing to be able to write that examination because it wasn't a lot of information, but truly speaking, it was a lot of new information for me because of the ethical pathway and all that. It became a little bit of information. So I needed to stop a lot of things I was doing to write this MCCQE. And for me, I started in July last year. I started studying for the exams in around ending of July and wrote the exam in October. And the result came in November and I passed successfully. So for the exams, because of the challenges with the exams and the competitiveness in which I'll be talking about very soon, you need to aim for high scores with the examination. So for the QE, the MCC QE, you should be aiming for 450 and above because most programs use 450 and above to see for those who will get into the residency program. Then for the NACOSKI, personally, I wrote the NACOSKI this May and I got superior performance just to let you know that it's not like it's possible. And it wasn't easy. I had to sit down to study for the NACOSKI because it's a little bit different. It's the same OSCE type that we do, but this particular OSCE looks more at your safety as a doctor and communication in Canada. So if you are someone who hasn't had Canadian experience, you still need to sit down to do a lot of studying to be able to help you to do this examination and score very, very good. Because some of the provinces, like where I am right now, Ontario looks at a very high score for this particular OSCE exams, the NACOSCE, which shows that you are above the average, and it's like you should be able to get very high standard deviation above the average students. So that is very important for you to note that it is a big challenge for most IMGs. And it's something that you can navigate your way around with proper guidance and training. Then we go on to the clinical experience. So the reason why a clinical experience is also a challenge is that, as I said, in Canada, when you come in, it's very difficult for someone to trust you with their work. Canada looks at more of references, and most of the work that you do, they'll be looking at people giving you reference. So if you don't have a Canadian experience before you try to get into a clinical position, it becomes very difficult for them to straight away give you the opportunity to start working right away. And of course, even after you write the first exams and the second exam, it doesn't give you the opportunity to start working as a doctor. You can either work as a clinical assistant, which I'm doing now, or a physician associate till you finally get into the residency program. And I am not doing a physician associate right now because my province, which is Ontario, don't have physician associate. We do just the clinical assistantship programs. And that is what you need to be able to get this pathway, which is the networking and the references. As I stated already, when you come in as a fresh graduate, you wouldn't have the opportunity, a fresh person in Canada, you won't have opportunity to network and reference. So you have to do something called active research. Apply to so many places, and you will eventually get the opportunity to network with someone or get the clinical experience that you need. Then for the competition, one thing you should know, as I already said, is that there are some of the specialty programs that are IMG friendly. Some of them are not IMG friendly. So you need to play your games very well, and you should target some of the places which are less competitive. Then you build on. Don't always like limit yourself. Like you build on with wherever you find yourself. And one of the places that you can always build on is family medicine. You can always build on in Canada here. Yeah, so it is one thing that you should know, that the competition is high. You will come here and you realize that the IMG slot and the IMG numbers here are enormous. There are so many coming in. So you are not the only one there. So always remember that and have that at the back of your mind. So how to overcome? I've literally talked about how to overcome this. For the competitiveness, the way that you can help your profile to be very rich and easily picked is if you build Canadian experience. Building Canadian experience is things like doing the clinical assistantship programs and all those things. Yes, the assistantship programs and all that. Then there's one other one called observerships. For the observerships, the problem with observerships is that you are not paid. But for clinical assistants, it's a role, so you are paid. So the observership is like you are just going to shadow a doctor and they will write recommendations for you. So for that one, you won't really be paid. Then research, you have to try your best to get into like find friends who are doing researches. Personally, I've not yet done public health, but since I came here, I've been trying to navigate my way to get people to help me to be on their research papers and all those things. So you have to try your best, even in Ghana or wherever you find yourself, get research on your paper because these like high income countries, they look at researchers a lot, and it's very important for them to know that you are involved in what is going on in the world. The volunteering would be that in Canada, they love that you are helping out, you are helping the aged, you are helping the community, your churches, and all that. So you have to be able to volunteer in a lot of things and all put them all on your CV, and all those are what will strengthen your CV. Then one other advice I'll give is that for you to be able to overcome these challenges, you have to prepare early. The reason being that something like the NAC or SKI, the exams is written just twice in a year because it requires a lot of work. And they, for the May exams that we did like this, they opened the portal for us to register in December last year. And the for the money involved in Canada is a bit like it's huge. So you have to prepare, you get the money in place, check all the requirements and the pricing for everything you have to do so that you know whether you are ready for it or not, because that is the biggest like problem that you would see the price of the maybe the narcoski and it is coming in December. You are writing the exams in May, but you don't have the money yet, like ready for paying for the exams. That becomes a challenge for you. That means you have to wait for the next cycle, which will be in September. And that is going to waste that time period that you had all those months would be spent on like just waiting and waiting and waiting. So you have to prepare early, always prepare early. Then you also have to actively network. When you come here, you realize that there are a lot of Ghanaians around. So you have to try going to church, going to seminars, try to find people, discuss with people. There are a lot of doctors here, but information is a little bit scanty in Canada because you don't get people who are ready to sit down to let you know the straight pathway to go to actually start working in Canada. And one important thing I forgot to say initially is that for Canada, one important thing they look at is that something called recency of practice. Recency of practice just means that when you started working, from the time you started working till the time you are applying for residency program, how what is the gap? They want you that the last time you were working was recent instead of maybe you worked maybe in 2024, 2023. It becomes very difficult for you to get the residency program. So some people will advise you when you come in, come and do some program. Realize that whenever you come in to do other programs, it breaks your clinical practice. And that makes it difficult for you to be able to get the residency program. That is very important for you to know. Recency of practice. You can always check up on it for Canada. Then what programs look out for? So yeah, so what program looks out for? So some of the things that they look out for is your academic performance, your exam score, your exam score. Your exam score is very, very important in Canada. Then your clinical experience, that is getting some of these clinical assistantship programs and all that. Then your communication skills is very, 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 very important in Canada, your professionalism and your leadership. So they look at all these things for you to be able to get into the residency program or the practice ready assessment. You have to have these like on top. You have to be part of the maybe the top 2 percentile or the, like something, be a tier top to be able to get into the programs for Canada. Then let's move on for building a strong IMG profile. Research, as I stated already, is very important. Quality improvements in terms of yourself, your exams, everything. Then teaching. That is some of these things are actually some things that you can put on your profile actually because they want to say that you are involved in the community. You are showing leadership, you are volunteering, publications, as I said, with the research, very important, and then community service. Canada is a very like down to earth country. They are so friendly. They are so nice. Like so the little that you will do, they will let you go through. For Canada, I won't lie to you, they are so down to it. Then yeah, so I'm done now. So the takeaway would be to start early, as I said. You have to start early. Personally, I started in 2023, and it hasn't been easy, but we are here today, and we can share this everything with you. The 2023, I mean, for the the immigration pathway, yeah, Then for the exams, it was last year. Write the required examination, build a Canadian experience, and network and seek mentorship is very important. For me, since I came, there's not a single day that I am not disturbing the doctors who are already here, who gave me the opportunity to ask them questions. And that is how what has brought me this far. I am always in their DMs. I am always disturbing them, and they freely give us, they are also freely obtained. Yeah. Then stay persistent. That is one important thing I need to tell you about Canada. The pricing of everything. Canada teaches you patience, and if you don't have it, you are out for Canada. So it's very important for you to know that you have to stay persistent and like be consistent in everything you are doing, persevere, like resilience. Canada needs that because it's like once you enter into the practice as an independent practitioner, trust me, you forget all the stress because the money that they are paying the independent practitioners, I don't want to open it, but it's very huge. So you should know that. So for me personally, as an IMG, my pathway was KNUST, that's a medical training in Ghana. Then housemanship, I did my 2 years housemanship. Of course, I needed my like my permanent license in Canada, in Ghana, sorry. Then I did some few months in clinical practice in ONG. Before that, during that period, that was when I was preparing for the MCCQE, and I was also doing my immigration pathway alongside. Then after the MCCQE, by God's grace, I mean, this one other thing that I need to tell you is that this pathway needs a lot of prayers. Like you need to pray, you need to be a prayer warrior to be able to get to where you we are now. So for by God's grace, God granted me the opportunity to move to Canada as a permanent resident. And for you to come in as a permanent resident, that means that you have the opportunity to start working right when you come in. You don't need to struggle or anything. So um although I had my PR, I still needed to write a NACOSKI. And as I said, you need time to be able to study. So I was still studying and I did my NACOSKI in May and I started working at Viva Medical Clinic as the clinical assistant in Ontario. And for the lessons I have learned, I always tell people that you have to pray a lot for this pathway. It's not an easy pathway. You have to keep being consistent and resilient in everything. You would face a lot of discouraging words from people, which I did. I did like from way back when I started the Canadian pathway. I had a lot of people telling me Canada is not a country you want to even try to enter because you will come in and you can't. And it's a lot of like brainwashing and all that. But you just need to tell yourself that this is what I want, and if it is Canada, it's Canada. You don't want to like throw your like that thing that people do that I'm trying here, I'm trying there, I'm trying there. If it's Canada, it's Canada. Keep your mind like on one and focus on just one thing. And trust me, it's going to work. Canada is difficult to enter with everything, but with the proper guidance and with the resilience, you will be able to get in. So yeah, thank you. And that would be it for now. If you have any questions, I would be ready to receive it. Emanuela, over to you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was elaborate. Can you please appreciate Dr. Muti? You want to appreciate Dr. Muti. Thank you so much. And I can see some people are already mentally updating their 5-year plans, trying to fix Canada some way, trying to prepare for Canada. Okay, amazing. Kindly know that there will be time for questions and answers. And I believe from just the first session, we've received so much. So if you really support Med Transitions Global, a link is being sent which contains all the various social media pages of Med Transitions Global. You want to kindly tap on them and join as many as you can. So I'm giving a space of 2 minutes. You want to see the number shoot up. I want to see the number. Please, when you tap on just one, give me a reaction. Let me see that you're actually joining or following us on your various social media platforms. Okay, thank you very much. So we won't waste my time since we want to have enough space to have a question and answer. So we'll move on to the second session. Thank you once again, Dr. Muti. We've really received from you. Okay, so to our second session. It is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker for the second session in the person of Dr. Michael Ofori Ansah. Dr. Ansah is a medical graduate of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, School of Medical Sciences. Following his medical training, he completed his housemanship at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital and the University of Ghana Hospital Legon, respectively, gaining valuable clinical experience before embarking on his next chapter in global health and research. In 2024, he moved to the United States to pursue a Master of Public Health at the George Washington University, which he recently completed. His academic excellence and dedication to public health earned him sports admission offers from 13 schools of public health across the United States, accompanied by multiple scholarship and graduate assistantship opportunities. Currently, Dr. Ansah serves as a postdoctoral fellow, research fellow at the prestigious Mayo Clinic, where he is advancing his interest in clinical and translational research with a particular focus on cardiovascular epidemiology. Beyond his academic and research pursuits, Dr. Ansah is passionate about mentorship and has supported numerous medical students and physicians in navigating the USMLE journey and graduate school application processes. He has successfully completed the USMLE Step 1 and the OET Medicine and continues to prepare for the next phase of his medical career with aspirations of pursuing internal medicine residency training in the United States. Please join me in warmly welcoming an emerging physician scientist, researcher, and mentor, Dr. Michael Ofori Ansah. Can we see some reactions? Thank you, Mausi. Thank you, Christiana. Thank you, Yadankwa. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Amazing, amazing. Dr. Ansah, please, you have the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So when you were doing the introduction, I thought you were introducing someone else because it was just too much. I'm just Michael. And thank you for having me. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share with you my experience and what I've gathered so far pursuing this process. So I'm going to go ahead and start my slides, share my slides. Am I audible enough? Can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. So my friend Muti talked a bit about the Canadian pathway, and she wants to drive everyone to Canada, but I also want to drive everyone to the US. So I'll be talking about the USMLE process. So when we talk about USMLE basically means United States Medical Licensing Examination. And it's a convoluted process, but basically it requires you to complete a couple of examinations and get a certification which would permit you to apply into the residency programs. And that's what we'll be talking about today. We will largely be talking about the registration process and how to prepare for the examination. In addition, we'll also talk about how to strengthen your CV and then quickly touch on the actual residency application process and some addenda. So people have different motivations for pursuing this pathway, and I believe your motivation influences the kind of efforts and the discipline that you put into working on this process. For some people, their motivations are founded on family. Some are also motivated by the financial aspect at the end of the tunnel. There may be more, but these are the only two that I could readily think of. So let's zoom into the registration process. The first thing you need to do is to confirm that your school is eligible, or graduates from your school are eligible to complete the USMLE examination. So you need to go to the World Directory of Medical Schools, and then you search for your school. To be eligible for the USMLE, your school has to be listed on this website, and then ECFMG is supposed to be listed as a sponsor of your school. Currently, to the best of my knowledge, and I checked earlier today, the following medical schools in Ghana are eligible to partake in the USMLE application. So KSMD, where I graduated, UGMS, UCC, UHAS, Accra College of Medicine, Family Health, and UDS are all eligible. So there are two systems basically where the registration takes place in. So the first is My InHealth, and then the second is the FSMB portal. You first need to establish a My InHealth account where you start the registration process and your credentials will be verified. After that, when you're deemed eligible, you can create an FSMB account where you actually register for the steps 1 to 3 exams. So in creating My InHealth account, you need to go to their portal, myinhealth.app. You create an account and log in with your credentials. After that, you need to complete the account establishment request form with your personal and medical details. You would also be required to upload a passport picture, and you also need a copy of your passport as well. Previously, the systems that were in use was the IWA or the Oasis portal, but they've transitioned from all those older systems into to the My InHealth portal, which is currently in use. To be able to establish the My InHealth account, you need to pay a fee of $110, after which you receive your USMLE ID. There's a snapshot of the process. So following the establishment of the My InHealth account, you need to complete an identity verification. So ECFMG has partnered with an organization called NotaryCam. And what they do is basically to ensure that the person who is applying can be verified. So to be able to complete that NotaryCam session, you need to have a copy of your passport, the passport with which you establish the account with. You need to have that on you. A notary will inspect the passport and take a picture of you holding your passport to your face. And following that, your account will be established. This process does not attract any fee because that fee is already included in the $110 you pay for the account establishment. So there's a snapshot of that. Following the initial account opening, you have about 6 months to be able to complete the digital identity verification. If you're unable to complete this process within that time, you would have to restart the whole process. After the initial account establishment, you need to apply for ECFMG certification. And this also comes at a fee of $580. Now, some people are concerned because previously people would reach out to ask if they will be able to start the process if they haven't graduated from medical school. Yes, you can start the process and even take the steps 1 and 2 exam if you have not graduated from medical school. Actually, the step 1 exam covers most of what we do in preclinical years, which are the basic medical sciences. It covers anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pathology, pharmacology, most of the things we do in preclinical. So I would even advise that if you have that vision of pursuing this pathway, you try as much as possible to start studying as early as preclinical years, and if possible, try and take step 1 by 4th or 5th year of medical school. So after you make this payment for the ECFMG certification, your credentials need to be verified. So ECFMG will contact your medical school to verify your transcript and your medical diploma. And this also comes at a fee of $220. Your medical school would also require you to make some payment. I've forgotten the exact amount I paid when I was doing mine last year for KNUST, but I think it should be around between 1,000 to 2,006, about 1,002 Ghana cedis. Yeah. And there's a snapshot of this process as well. So far, what we've done, we've established my InThealth account, we've done the identity verification and the notary camp session. We've applied for ECFMG certification, and ECFMG has reached out to our school to verify our credentials. After this process is complete, you can now register for the USMLE exam. And for the USMLE exam, there are actually 3 steps. There are steps 1, 2, and 3. Step 1 and 2 can be taken in any order. So you can take step 2 first before taking step 1, or you can take step 1 before taking step 2. However, step 3 can only be taken after steps 1 and 2 have been taken. Additionally, step 3 is only administered in the United States, unlike the steps 1 and 2, which can be taken in Ghana. So to register for the actual exam, you need to also establish an FSMB account on the FSMB portal. You go to usmle.fsmb.org and create an account there. If you use the credentials and the email you used in establishing the My InThealth account, FSMB will automatically confirm your ECFMG eligibility because those 2 systems are linked, and you'll be able to register for the STEPS exam. Now, the exam fee comes at a cost of $695. However, if you're taking it outside of the US, there is an international surcharge fee. So for step 1, the international surcharge fee is $210. And for step 2, the international surcharge fee is $235. For step 3, as I mentioned earlier, it's only administered in the US, and you're only eligible to take the step 3 exam after passing steps 1 and 2. And the cost for the step 3 exam is $995. I must say at this point that you do not need step 3 exam to apply for residency. To be eligible to apply for residency, you need to have taken step 1, step 2 CK, an English test, which is called the Occupational English Testing or the OET medicine. And you need to have your ECFMG certification, which you get after completing the steps 1 and 2 exam. After you register for the exam, you are allowed to select a 3-month eligibility window within which you actually take the exam. And if you do not take the exam within this 3-month window, you'll be able to extend your eligibility for a contiguous 3-month window at a fee. And after that additional 3-month window ends, the whole application is crushed, and you would have to restart the process if you are unable to take it within that time. So this is a snapshot of the process as well. FSMB account creation after completing the credential verification on the My IntHealth portal, register for the exam, select an eligibility period, and then take the exam during your eligibility period. So after you register for the exam, you'll be given a permit by FSMB with which you would book an actual date for the exam. The test is taken at Prometric test centers, and there are several Prometric test centers across the world. In Ghana, to the best of my knowledge, there is only one Prometric test center, and it's around Total House in Accra. I took my step 1 and will be taking my step 2 in the US. I've come to learn that usually because the test center in Accra invite applicants from other countries. So I know Nigerians also come to Ghana to take the USMLE at the Accra Test Center. Because of that, you're advised to apply early and also try and book your date early so that you can work around your plan and be able to take it within your eligibility window. So when you are going to the exam center or the test center for the exam, you need to go with your scheduling permit and the passport you used in establishing your account and applying for the exam. So far, these are the upfront costs. You need to pay the 110 for the account establishment, 580 for the ECFMG eligibility application, and 220 for the credential verification. And this is without the amount of money you pay to your local medical school to confirm your credentials with ECFMG. These are upfront, and you need to pay all of these before you can even register for the exam. But later in the session, we will talk about the finances aspect of like this whole process. A lot of people think that you need to have all the money upfront before you can start this process. The only money you need to have upfront is what is outlined here in the phase 1 or the base setup. You need to have all of this upfront. Following that, you can save over time and work whilst also like saving to be able to pursue the subsequent steps of the process. So I've attached a couple of links here. I think after this session, we can share the slides with you. These are videos that outline the registration process, and it will make it easier for people to be able to follow and go through the registration process. So we are done with the registration. Now the headache. How do we prepare for the exams? There are a lot of materials, and your preparation strategy will depend on your base knowledge and what kind of learner you are, and also what resources you deem will be best fit for how you study and your preparation. Most people talk about the first aid, which is like one key material that is used in the step 1 application process. Sorry, the step 1 preparation process. So for the exam, you need to get a first aid, or another option to the first aid is Bots and Beyond, which is like a lecture videos about, it covers the whole of the material that is covered in the step 1 exam. Some people combine the first aid with the Bots and Beyond because they say that the Bots and Beyond is basically a video version of the first aid. However, the first aid also has mnemonics and other resources that makes it easier for you to recall like certain facts. Honestly, on my part, I did not use first aid for my step 1 application because it's very condensed and it doesn't have detailed explanation on stuff. It assumes that you have the base knowledge already. So it just like basically give you facts that you need to cue or facts you need to imbibe. And I don't find that kind of learning appealing. So I preferred the Bots and Beyond videos. I'll just watch the lecture videos and then I'll go to UWorld. So UWorld is a question bank and it's a non-negotiable for the USMLE preparation. After reading like maybe biochemistry or watching the biochemistry videos on Bots and Beyond, I'll then go to UWorld and then solve all the biochemistry questions. I'll go to the next topic, rinse and repeat till I finish all of that. Another key resource is Sketchy. I believe most of you may have come across Sketchy videos. So they are animated videos. They have videos for microbiology, pharmacology, and other subjects. I think for the USMLE, the most appealing or the best for me was Sketchy Micro. It really helps me when I was studying for infectious diseases and the microbiology aspects of the exam. For pathology, one of the non-negotiables is Pathoma, and most people recommend that you go through at least chapters 1 to 4 with the Pathoma book and videos. Another resource is the Anki. So Anki is used a lot by medical students in the US. It's basically a flashcard system which aids in repetitive learning. So you can load like pre-made cards of the subject areas you're studying, and each day you go through a couple of cards. Because you are learning or you are seeing the cards, it makes it easier for you to recall when you come across like a question based on like that area. I've used it a lot for my step 2 preparation. Honestly, for step 1, I didn't really use Anki because I found it very hard to use when I started my step 1 preparation. But when I had the time to get more familiar with it, it's been really helpful for my step 2 application, my step 2 preparation. There are other resources. So some people use Kaplan. There is a guy on YouTube called Dirty Medicine. I really love Dirty Medicine's videos. And I would say what really helped me was I did subscribe to YouTube Premium so that I could watch the videos or play back the videos even after I lock my phone or like in the background. I watched all his videos over and over, and he has really funny ways of letting the things stick. Like he'll give you a crazy mnemonic, and because of that, you never forget it. Now, aside the cost of the registration fees and the cost of the exam itself, the chunk of the cost that a lot of people bear when they are going through the USMLE process comes with the preparation resources or the preparation materials. So to offset costs, there are offline versions of these materials. You get offline versions of UWorld, you get offline versions of like Bots and Beyond, Sketchy, even First Aid and all of that, Kaplan, Pathoma. There are offline versions that you can reach out to people and they can send you those resources for you to start your preparation with. Alternative to the UWorld, there are some pirated versions of UWorld. So I currently use Cosology QBank, and Cosology has like all the materials you need in terms of questions from step 1 to step 3. And a lifetime subscription of Cosology to Cosology QBank is, I think, $90. I don't know the current exchange rate, so I can't convert to Ghana cedis. But then comparing $90 for a Cosology QBank, which will take you through steps 1 to 3, to about paying almost $560 for UWorld Step 1, an additional $560 for UWorld Step 2. I think it's a no-brainer, and it will make much more sense for people to go for Cosology QBank. And in actual fact, it has all the questions that you find on UWorld, all the questions you find on Ambos. There is another question bank called Melman, and the Cosology QBank has all the questions from Melman QBank as well. Other alternatives are QBankly and the IMD app. I subscribed to the IMD app, but I didn't really like their interface. I struggled with it. I would say for people who really want to cut costs, I would recommend Cosology QBank. For $90, you have a lifetime subscription to the materials for steps 1 to step 3. All right. So in the end, we want to be able to get into residency programs, and we need to look very competitive because all IMGs from around the world are trying to enter into the US system, and as such, the programs are very competitive. Even US medical students also take the USMLE exams. They also apply for residency programs, and you need to be able to show yourself above the lot or prove yourself above the lot. And so you need to be able to improve your CV to be more competitive. These are a couple of the things that will make you more competitive. So having an advanced degree, like a master's or a PhD, can help. If you've specialized in your home country, that may also help your application. Importantly, having US clinical experience, it's also a key factor. And US clinical experience comes in the form of electives or observerships. The essence of this is to prove to US physicians that you have the skills and the knowledge similar to that of a US medical student, and they can attest to your knowledge and skill set, following which they will give you like reference letters which will aid your residency application. Muti earlier talked about publications, and it's also very important. It's not a must, but then having it helps your overall profile. If you've also done presentations of abstracts or papers at regional or national conferences, this also comes in handy. Some people participate in postdoctoral fellowships. So currently, I'm done with my MPH, and I've got a job offer as a postdoctoral fellow at Mayo Clinic, which I'll be starting next month. And my job will basically be conducting research. We'll be doing a lot of publications. And so having that experience on my CV will, I believe, make me a little more competitive when I'm applying for residency programs. They also want to see that you've indulged yourself and served your community. So they want to see evidence of leadership and volunteering or community service. Importantly, networking. It's also very important because people may just give you a recommendation, and that alone will open more doors for you than probably your USMLE scores or your publications or your advanced degree. So these are just a few things to strengthen your CV. Again, having publications or abstracts, presentations are not a must, but then they greatly improve your overall profile. US clinical experience also greatly improves your overall profile, as well as volunteering and all the other things listed here. So we are done with the exam registration. We've taken the exams. We've looked at how we can improve our CV. Let's briefly talk about the residency application process itself. So after you're done with steps 1, 2, and the OET, again, the OET is an English test, but then unlike other English tests like the IELTS and TOEFL, OET medicine is more specialized and it's geared towards what you encounter in normal clinical practice as a physician. So most of the conversation or questions will be around interaction with patients, maybe taking a history from a patient, salient points you noted from the history and all of that. There are different aspects of the OET exam. It includes a speaking, a writing, a listening, and I can't seem to remember the other aspect, but then there are four avenues or aspects to the OET medicine, and it's not difficult. I used about 3 or 4 days to prepare for the OET medicine. Obviously, if you've been able to go through medical school in Ghana and being taught all your life in English, it's not that difficult to actually prepare for this exam. So you need to apply to the pathways, and the pathways are for a given period. So for instance, if you apply for the 2020, if you apply for the pathways this year, you have a 2-year window to apply for residency programs. To apply for the pathways, you pay $945, and there are different pathways that people can explore. The most common pathway is pathway 1, which is for people who have permanent license from their home country. For such people, they will need a letter of good standing from their medical and dental council to aid their pathways application. Another option is to just get a physician who has been licensed and practiced for at least 5 years to complete a short form attesting to your clinical skills and knowledge. That's a different pathway. So after the pathways application, you have to pay $185 for something called the ERAS token, and this will give you the opportunity to actually complete the ERAS application and apply to the programs you want to apply to. For the programs application, for the first 30 programs, you pay $11 for each program. So if you apply to the first 30 programs, you pay a total of $330. For any additional application after the first 30 programs, you pay $30 per program. And typically, IMGs apply to at least 100 programs. So that will mean that 30 times 11 for the first 30 programs, and then 70 times 30 for the subsequent 70 programs. To complete your ERAS application, you also need a professional headshot. You need to complete your ERAS CV. You need to release your USMLE transcripts from ESFMG, which you pay $80 for. And then there's the NRMP registration. So the NRMP is the National Residence Match Program. If you are on social media, especially on X or maybe LinkedIn, around the 2nd or 3rd week of March each year, you see residents, physicians, IMGs all around the world posting that they've matched. And this is made possible through this National Residents Matching Program. To be able to apply for the match, you need to pay $70, following which you need to come up with a programs list. Again, I mentioned that IMGs typically apply to a minimum of 100 programs. So you need to do your research and come up with a list of programs that you will qualify for. Some programs have different cutoffs. For instance, some programs will say that they want people with step 2 scores above maybe 240 or 250. So if you realize that that's a hard cutoff, you don't add such a program to your program list, obviously. Some programs also have cutoffs for years of graduation. So I think Muti earlier talked about recency of practice, which is a bit different from the years of graduation. So for the USMLE or the USMLE pathway, they want to see when you graduated from medical school and when you are starting your residency program. That difference is what is called the years of graduation. And some programs have cutoffs for the years of graduation. So some programs have like a 4-year, 5-year cutoff. But then there are also people who have completed medical school for maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they still match. So it's not like you need to do your research and know the program you're applying to make sure that they don't have like such a hard cutoff or filter. I remember earlier this year and even last year. Earlier this year, there was a consultant from University of Ghana who matched. I think he was a nephrologist. He matched and he's coming to start residency here. Last year, there was a professor of, I think, pediatrics or internal medicine, no, professor of nephrology, who had practiced for over 20 years in Nigeria. She also matched and she left Nigeria last year to start residency here. So these are only like a few that I can think of, but then there are so many people who have graduated from medical school like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they are still able to match. They look at your overall profile and not only your exam scores or publications or whatsoever. So after you come up with your list of programs, you include them on your ERAS application, and then you prepare for your interviews. After the interviews, so programs who are interested in you will send you an invite for the interviews. And after the interviews, you have the opportunity to rank the programs that you interviewed with in the order in which you want them. This rank list is very important because this is what is passed into the algorithm to be able to match you with the program. So after you rank the programs you interviewed with in the order you want them, the programs or the hospitals you interviewed with also rank all the applicants they interviewed in the order of their preference. Both of these rank order lists are passed through an algorithm, and then that match algorithm matches you with a specific program. It's very complex, but then yeah, we can talk about that some other time. So these are a few documents that you need for your ERAS application. You need a personal statement, you need letters of recommendation. And I mentioned earlier that having US clinical experience helps because it not only adds up to your overall profile, but it also allows you to secure letters of recommendation from US physicians. And that goes a long way to support your residency application. You also need to get a medical school performance evaluation or dean's letter from your medical school. And for this, there are samples out there. When you're ready, you reach out and we can forward the samples of the MSP to you for you and your medical school to complete. You would also need your medical school transcripts, your ECFMG certification, which is only applicable for IMGs. And then you need a professional headshot or photograph, as I mentioned earlier. And of course, your USMLE transcript. So you've gone through the exam process, residency application process. What's next? Most hospitals or programs sponsor J1 visas. And that's what a lot of international medical graduates will be on for their residency and those who want to continue the fellowship as well. And the J1 visas are sponsored via ECFMG. The issue with the J1 visa is that most countries have a 2-year home requirement. So technically, after you get on a J1 visa, you're supposed to return to your home country for at least 2 years before you can come back to the US. However, there are several ways for you to like bypass that 2-year home requirement. One is to get a no objection statement from your country. Obviously, if you do not owe your country or if you've not done like any wrong in your country, you can reach out to your embassy to say that they should give you a no objection statement telling the United States that they do not object to you opting to stay in the country. For physicians, it's also easy because our field is highly essential and needed. Most states are able to reach out to the appropriate agencies to tell them that, oh, we need this particular individual because he's a physician and we believe he'll be beneficial to our state. So with that, they're able to waive that 2-year home requirement. Another option is called the Conrad 30 program, where as a doctor, you agree to work in an undeserved area for about 3 to 5 years, and following which you'll be granted like a green card based visa like the H-1B and whatnot. There are other options like EB1, EB2, which you can apply to. The EB1 is an employment-based visa, and people with specific credentials can apply. So mostly people with advanced education or have like advanced credentials in their field are able to apply for the EB1 or the EB2. And if granted, you can start your residency or pursue the residency and fellowship on such visas. For the EB2, you need like an advanced degree, such as like a master's. If you have a bachelor's, they expect you to have worked for at least 5 years. The other requirement is for you to have a proposal that will be of national interest to the United States. So you need to draft like a detailed proposal to tell them that, oh, like for me, for instance, having a degree in public health, I can say I have a degree in public health and I am proposing like this specific area of research, which I believe will be of interest to the US. And after I meet other requirements, they review my portfolio or profile, and if I'm approved, I'll be granted the EB2, which comes with a green card, with which you can pursue your residency training. So some of the biggest challenges for people who want to pursue the USMLE pathway is to do with motivation and financing. Earlier, I mentioned that the motivation you started with influences you a lot in terms of how much effort or how deep you're willing to go to achieve your dreams. A lot of people do reach out, hey, I want to pursue the USMLE, and initially they show so much enthusiasm, but then after a while, you don't hear from them again. You reach out and they would have fallen through the cracks.
Barista, they're giving you. It had to be one meal. Don't worry, I don't mind. It's barista over yeah. No, it was barista for
Can we mute
that was your business.
Laura, can you please mute yourself?
Jesus, 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 Jesus.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. So I was talking about the challenges, specifically the motivation. So a lot of people reach out initially with so much enthusiasm, but after a while, you reach out to them and they would have fallen through the cracks. They would have abandoned the process. I know someone who has taken step 1, step 2, and the person does not want to continue. Obviously, they have their own reasons, but then I believe knowing what you want to gain from this right from the start is really important, and that should drive everything that you do in pursuit of this pathway of this dream. Another important challenge is the financing. So I mentioned earlier that apart from the initial upfront fee of about almost 900, let's say $1,000 that you need to pay before you actually register for the exam, you don't need to have any other money upfront. You can build this over time. When you take the first USMLE exam, you have about 7 years to complete the whole process. Obviously, you need to take into consideration the year of graduation and all the other things that I mentioned. But then you do not need to have a lump sum of, say, $10,000, $12,000 before you start this application. You can start with the upfront fee and then save over time whilst preparing for the exam. By the time you get the money for step 1, you would have probably finished preparing for step 1. You pay for it, you register, you sit the exam, and then you continue studying for step 2 whilst like building up your coffers for the fees for that as well. So I believe that's one of the turn-offs. Most people think, oh, the USMLE is very expensive. I need to have $10,000 before I can start. No, you only need to have the initial upfront fee of about $1,000. which is about 7 or 8, let's say 8,000 Ghana cedis if the exchange rate is around 11 point something. And um, yeah, that's the only money you need upfront. You can save over time, build your coffers over time whilst preparing for the exam. And another challenge people face is combining studying for the exam with school or full-time job. Honestly, nothing good comes easy. The process is tough. It's tough. And people have been able to do it. So one motivation that I do have is that there are so many people who have been able to go through, so many people in probably like they have probably worse of circumstances or more dire situations. They are still able to go through. People have taken it whilst in school. Like last year, a Nigerian marched into radiology, which is like very competitive, marched into radiology right after medical school. There are so many people who have been able to go through. So if people have been able to combine studying for the exam with their school, studying for the exam with their work, I believe if you are coming up with that as an excuse or not pursuing it, then you are not really set on what you want to achieve and you're not really convicted um in terms of you don't have that conviction in terms of putting in your all to pursue this to the very end. I took step one in the OET whilst studying for my MPH, my in grad school, and I can tell you, grad school in the US is not it's not easy. You read so much, you read a lot of papers, critique so many papers. For my program, I did epidemiology. It comes with a lot of like research and coding and all of that statistical analysis. And I was still able to do it. I was still able to prepare and take the step one and the OET. And thankfully, I'm done with my program and I'll be taking step two next month. I cannot stand here or sit here and say that it's been easy. It's been tough. I've had to prioritize my USMLE preparation over enjoyment. I love taking road trips. I would have loved to like travel all around like different states, visiting different states in the US and all of that. But because I know what I want to like achieve at the end of this journey, I've had to prioritize like putting in more effort and studying for the USMLE exams. Because after all, when I'm done with all of that, I can go back and do the other things that I'm shelving for a later time. So I just have a few proposed solutions with regards to the financing and how to navigate this whole process. In terms of motivation, having people, surrounding yourself with people who are also pursuing this pathway is really important. They can push you and make sure that you are always putting in the effort. So some people form study groups. I, for one, I don't really thrive in study groups. But I thrive by surrounding myself with people who have similar interests and who are pursuing like similar path. And that has really been helpful to me. I have a friend from the UK. She completed medical school in the UK, came to the US and wants to march into a residency program here. She's a Ghanaian, also preparing for the USMLE step two. And every week we'll just check in with each other. Hey, I'm doing this topic. I've covered this amount of UWorld. Oh, I'm doing my MBMEs. I'm doing CMS forms. Like, how is it going? What are the challenges? What are you struggling with? We just share ideas and push each other on. She took her exam I think on Wednesday, and I'll be taking mine next month. So having that um, community of people pursuing similar interests is really helpful. Some people would also advise for those who are completing medical school to choose um, areas or hospitals that are more relaxed for their house job. Because if you know that you do not really want to practice in Ghana, then you need to prioritize taking the USMLE and um, giving yourself that time to be able to study for the exam and then um, leave it. I use the MPH route. So I did that because I had genuine interest in public health. I am interested in research, and I feel my medical training did not really equip me with the rudiments of research and the skills that I needed. So I decided to pursue an MPH. But pursuing that MPH has also opened so many avenues for me because I've understood research a lot better. I can independently conduct a research. I'm currently working on papers which I'll be publishing. And the skills and knowledge I acquired from my MPH is also what opened a door for me at of course God factor. I cannot ignore the God factor, but the skills and the knowledge I acquired from the MPH program is also what opened the door for me at Mayo Clinic. And Mayo Clinic is probably the #1 hospital in the world. Going there for a postdoc fellowship will be really beneficial to my residency application because I'll be doing a lot more research. I'll be able to network with physicians there. I'll be able to gain clinical experience because I'm working in the hospital. And I'll also get very good recommendation letters. I'll be publishing a lot of papers. So that is one aspect to look at, the MPH route. If you apply for an MPH program and you apply strategically, you can get into a program that is fully funded and will even give you like monthly stipends. And with that, you may be able to like cater for the costs surrounding the USMLE. Being in the US for the MPH is also helpful because you can easily do like US clinical experience. Last summer, I worked with a Ghanaian cardiologist. So he has his own private practice, although he's US trained. He has his own private practice in Bellsville, which is like 15 minutes from where I live. So I worked with him over 2, 3 months last summer. And because of that, I've established like a very good relationship with him. And he's going to give me a recommendation letter when I'm applying for the USMLE. Some people also pursue like going to other countries like maybe the UK before ultimately ending up in the US. Now, as it stands, I don't know how feasible this pathway may be because we have heard so much news about the stringent measures the UK government are putting in place to prioritize UK medical graduates um, over international medical graduates. The other thing, which is the easiest, if you have like family who can support you or sponsor you, just fall on them. Even if it's a loan, you know that at the end of this whole process, you can pay back all of that within like a very short time. So this is it. We will open the floor for questions later. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to addressing your questions shortly.
Wow, amazing. Can we kindly acknowledge Dr. Ansah?
Just
Thank you,
Michael.
everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope we've not forgotten to follow the various social media pages posted on the group. And you realize that events like this don't happen by chance. They are made possible through the generosity, commitment, and support of many individuals. So can you kindly acknowledge those individuals? You want to send your reactions to let them know they are well appreciated. Yeah. We have an opportunity to contribute towards sustaining this vision and making future programs like this possible. So to lead us through this session, we invite Dr. Christiana Kwachua Esihene.
Okay, thank you so much, Ella. Good evening, everyone. I trust we are all enjoying the session. I think we've learned a lot. We've cleared some doubts concerning the pathway to Canada, concerning the pathway to the US. And for those of us who have been following Med Transitions Global for a while now, we've been organizing a lot of programs for junior housemanship, senior housemanship, and also the foreign medical pathways which today we have started and we've discussed. These programs that we bring to your doorsteps from time to time yearly are usually very free. No one pays for registration. And as part of our goals and our objectives to make sure we deliver, we reach out to more people, we enhance the quality of our programs, the quality of the services that we provide to the general population globally and even nationally in Ghana here. It's important that we start putting in the finances that will help us to improve that quality. You know that in this world that we live in, to be able to get a lot of quality, sometimes we have to make some sacrifices. And that sacrifices involves finances. So this is a passionate plea or a passionate admonition to us that we would like to speak to the house, speak to those on the call today, in our session today, that we need your support. Whichever way you can support us, especially financially, we need some monies to help us to give the quality that we are all looking forward to. So if you are here, you want to sponsor us, you know an organization that is passionate about medical staff, passionate about mentorship, training of people in the health space, or you yourself, you are passionate about this, or you are moved by the ideas and the objectives of this community, we would like to call on you to sponsor us. I'm putting a link on the page. So when you go onto that link, it will take you to a platform where you'll be asked to quote the amount of money you would like to support us with. And we take the monies in CDs, in Ghana CDs, in dollars, in Naira, whichever currency you would like to support us with. And when you look down on the link, we also have a section where you can choose the mode of payment with either with a MasterCard or with a normal Visa card. So this is a passionate appeal. Kindly share it with any organization, your uncle, your parents, or anyone that you know will be willing to support us. Please, let's kindly open the link. I've shared this on the WhatsApp page. In a space of 2 minutes, let's kindly open the link and then log on and start sending in our support. Please, if you've opened the link, kindly send a reaction on the page. If you've opened the link and you are working on it, kindly send a reaction. Okay, thank you, Dr. Vanessa. Thank you, Amiel. Thank you. Please, let's open the link. Let's send in our support. Let's send in our support so that we can provide a quality service to be able to reach out to more people, to enhance our programs, enhance our sessions, our seminars, get more seasoned speakers like we've gotten today. And one thing that we should notice that for all those who are sponsoring us, there's going to be a gift, a token of appreciation, which was put together by our speaker for today. So thank you so much to our speakers and also to our qualified physicians who are training outside, who put together their experiences in a document that will be sharing with all those who are contributing, all those who are sponsoring. So this token will be shared. Yes, the IMG playbook, USMLE roadmap, and starter toolkit. this will be shared with all those who are contributing. So if you want to benefit from this playbook, kindly contribute, kindly sponsor, kindly share the link with someone to support us. All right, I think our 2 minutes is up, but then, we can still send in our contributions. I'll hand over to Ella to continue with the session. Thank you all for contributing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll right away zoom into the question. So we would start with questions for Dr. Muti. Dr. Muti, are you around?
Yes, I am.
Amazing. Okay. So, and also we'd like to appreciate our YouTube viewers. We know you are following and we appreciate you for joining us. So the first question to Dr. Muti is, did you prepare for the exam with an agency or you studied on your own? Kindly touch on exam and registration costs. An estimate will be helpful. Yes, please.
Okay, so for the exams and the that would be the MCCQE and the NAC The reason why I didn't go so deep into it is like there's a lot that you need to do, the registration, the physician apply pathway. They outline all the things that you need to do in terms of the source verification and the documents that you need to provide. But for Canada, from beginning to the end, it's all about money. For the physician apply, when you register, first and foremost, that is even the pathway for you to be able to get into registering for the exams. You need to pay an amount of about 226, I think, Canadian dollars for the physician apply registration. Then after that registration, you go on to do the source verification, which I've forgotten the amount that you pay in terms of the source verification, but that one too, you need to pay something. It was roughly around, for the physician apply registration and the source verification, it was almost 400 Canadian dollars. Then comes in with, for Canada, the prices for the exams are quite expensive. For the first part of the exams, that is the MCCQE, you need to pay an amount of about 1,000. It was around 1,200 to 1,300 for Canadian dollars for that the first exams. And then it comes in for the NACOSKI, which is also the NACOSKI is very, very expensive. It's around 3,000 Canadian dollars. Almost 3,000, yeah, but it's roughly around 3,000 Canadian dollars. So that is the pricing for the exams. That's why I personally didn't go deep into it, because it's quite expensive for the. But once you open the physician apply account, everything is documented there. So you get all the information. You can read it all there once you have registered for the physicianapply.ca. Then for the part of the examination for the exams, personally, I joined. There's no agency. Trust me, you would be. There are a lot of like fake people around who and scammers who might like try to scam you for your money, because there's no agency. There are, however, some groups that you could join that can help you with preparing for the examination. In the Canadian, like one province called Alberta, there is an Alberta International Medical Graduate Association that you can join in. I'm just going to quickly put, they are called the IMGA. You can check up on them online, and it helps you to register with them. And they have sections that they put across for the exams. You can register with them. And there are other groups. There are other groups that can help you out. But this is mainly, you can always contact me. You can take my contact from some of the like the leaders here, and you can always WhatsApp me or send me a message on LinkedIn. I can always reply to any messages that you send me. Yeah, so that I can give you some of these like links and all that. There are a lot of information. Yeah, so personally I believe one step at a time. So when you are ready, you can always get that information. And for me, I also had a study group. The study group, in the initial phase, you may find people who are not really focused and like serious about the exam. So eventually you realize that you can sieve through things and get people who can help you out with studying. So basically that is it. For the Canadian exams, they are quite expensive. So you need to be ready for the pathway for Canada before you start. And unlike the US that you as Michael was saying that you start one at a time. For Canada, you have to make sure that you have the money ready because once you start, like once the registration is opened, you don't get the chance to like it's a timeline for you to be able to register and pay the amount. Something like the NACOSKI, the registrations that was open in December and the exams itself was May. And there was a deadline for the registration. So if you don't pay that amount, you are not writing the exams in May. You'd have to wait for the September batch. So Canada, you have to have the money ready. So that is mainly it for Canada. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Godwin. So the next question is, if I get there through admission into a master's program, what visa category would that fall under? I think this question is for
Yeah,
Dr. Muti.
I think that question should rather be for Michael since he went through the MPH. But for Canada,
Okay.
go through the MPH, but that would be under a student visa. They have the student category visa where you'll be able to work, but you won't be able to work the full hours. You can work part-time whilst you are a student. Yeah, so that's for the Canadian pathway. So for Canadian pathway, you can apply for an MPH program in Canada. There are a lot of portals out there. Yeah, you can always send me a message. I can like link you up with the portals and all those things. That's for you to be able to register for the MPH pathway, but that is not the pathway I went through. Unlike for the US, where the recency of practice, as Michael was saying, was the time you graduated. For Canada, they care about the time you were in clinical practice. So if there's a gap with the time you were in clinical practice, there's going to be an issue there with the like you getting into residency program. So so most people, what happens is that most people who did MPH or have been here for a while need to go back to their home countries, go and do like some 6 months, 1 year program before they come back to come and apply. Because for Canada, they care about you doing the clinical work. Your clinical experience should be recent. So that's for Canada. So for the MPH pathway, yes, you can go through that pathway. You can get a student's visa, then you can apply for any work. Most of the times, to be frank, you wouldn't really get a clinical assistantship job with the like with the student visa. You may get the what's it called, the factory works and all that. But to be frank with you, for the clinical work, for the
Hello.
can the person mute themselves? Sorry. So for the clinical assistant work and the physician associate, you need to have at least written one of the exams like the MCCQE for them to see that you are like they approve for you to do those kind of work. So yeah, so that would be it. I don't know whether I answered the question well for the person.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muti. So the next question is, when you apply for the express entry, how long does it take to get your permanent residency in Canada?
Well,
Yeah.
I would say it depends. For the express entry, it depends. As I was saying, we have different pathways. We have the provincial pathway and we have the federal pathway. The federal pathway is the earliest because that's one for you when you put in your things like writing the English proficiency exams, putting in your documents that you are indeed a doctor. They send you for the federal pathway. They send you an invitation. After they send you the invitation, that is when you would get you have to put like the real physical evidence that oh this and that is what I did. And one other thing that you have to remember is that for the express entry too, they look at like your funds. There's a cutoff range for the amount that you should show that you have these proof of funds in your account before they would say that, okay, you are someone ready to come into Canada. A single person has the amount they need to provide. Like when you are married, when you have children, there are this information. You can check proof of funds for express entry in Canada. It's online. You can see the amount. I did it like over a year ago, so I don't remember the exact amount. I can't really give the exact amount. But for me, after I did my express entry, from the time I got the invitation till the time I got my PR was like 3 months. Ideally, it's supposed to be 6 months, but for some reason, it was like it was so fast for me. And when I applied, I was able to apply with my partner, and we both got the PR at the same time. So that is one other advantage too. If you are already married, you get the chance to apply as a married couple. And for the provincial pathway, it may also take up to 6 months for you to hear from the province. After you hear from the province in the 6 months, that is when you are now going to like bring out your provide your documents for the federal government to be able to give you the invitation. So I would say the whole process, that's why I was saying Canada kind of teaches you patience. The whole process itself might take you up to a year from the time you start the application process for the express entry till the time you get your PR in your hands physically would be a year. That's what is what I would say personally. That's what I'll say. Although mine was fast, I'm not going to. The actual thing is that 6 months, 6 months. So I'll say like almost a year, just roughly like that. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Dr. Muti. We'll come to you again. We'd like to move to Dr. Ansa. Okay, so the question is, what if I already have the ECFMG registered in 2024? Would I need to do a new one? Not sure about the duration period for which my old one is valid for. This question goes to Dr. Ansa.
Yeah, so I think just call me Michael, but I think I responded to that in the chat. So it depends on where the person got to in the application process. If they were able to complete the notary camp session and also have their credentials verified by their medical school, when they create the My Intel account, and they provide their USMLE ID if they have, or they use the email they first used to apply. All the details from the previous application will be fetched automatically, and they would not have to go through that initial registration process again. They can just proceed to apply for the STEP exam on the FSMB portal.
Yes,
That's
please. Thank you so much. I think
Michael.
I think Michael has done justice to his questions in the chat. Yeah. Okay, but there's another one for you from YouTube. It says, where did you apply to do your MPH? Yeah.
So I did my MPH at the George Washington University, but I got admission into about 13 schools of public health. I got admission to Johns Hopkins, to Emory University, St. Louis University, Dartmouth College, which is an Ivy League, University of Massachusetts Lowell, Georgia State, Georgia Southern. I can't even remember all of them. Yeah, but then I chose George Washington University.
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you very much. And also for Dr. Muti, which provinces are relatively easier for the international medical graduates to get into?
Oh, actually, all provinces are easy for an IMG to enter. It's not about the province itself, but about the schools, the number of schools that are in the province. Something like Ontario has a lot of schools. So if you are registering, you are going into Ontario. That means that like you are applying for the different schools in Ontario. That means that you have like more options to to choose from. Then also it comes with the province itself. every province has its requirements. One other IMG friendly province, I mean, all of them are, but Alberta is also IMG friendly. But the whole point is that you have to check the province requirements, because some province require that you have lived there for about 6 months before you can apply for the residency program, like the Alberta. And Ontario is actually now bringing it to that you need to have stayed here for 6 months to the time of the application of the residency program, which the camps would be open. I mean, registration for new applicants will be coming this July, 8th July. Then for you to submit the schools you want to you want to go into would be around September, October. So you have to check the eligibility criteria. They are all friendly, but need to make sure that you meet the criteria. If it is 6 months, you meet the 6 months criteria. If it is about writing additional examination other than the major two that is recognized across the whole country, there are some provinces like Saskatchewan that you need to do other exams, something called CASPA. It is kind of a clinical assessment program. Some provinces like Ontario, like this, require you doing something called, if you are, for me, I'm talking in the base of family medicine because that's what I want to do. Family medicine like this, you need to do something called FM Pro. It is all clinical assessments, not necessarily major exams that you need to do. So it is all about the provincial requirements, not necessarily it being IMG friendly. I hope I explained very well on that side.
Yes, please. I hope that answers your question, Eliana. Also, can you please share some resources for preparing the exam Yeah, preparing for the
Yeah, so for preparing for the exams, we have the personally, I'll say that we have one book called Toronto Notes, like spelling like the normal Toronto, like back in Toronto Notes. That's what most people use for the preparation of the exams. Then for Canada, as I already said, we have the ethical things related to Canada. So you have to know the Canadian body that protects doctors. That is called a CNPA. So ethics around surrounding the body that protects doctors in Canada. And also, what is most important is your question banks. If you just study like with the Toronto notes and you don't really use your question bank, that is going to be like a big problem for you. So we have the ACE Kill Bank, we have the Canada Kill Bank, and of course the USMLE. The USMLE also has its own question bank. But for the Canadian exams, unlike the USMLE that you do the preclinical and the clinical, for the Canadian exams, it's mainly clinical, as I stated already, and it's like what you did from fourth year to fifth year. So you have to use the CKMB2 rather instead of the one. So the CKMB2 is what you use for the Canadian first exam, which is the MCCQE. So that is what you use. And I think that's majorly what I use. Then there's this also US Bots and Beyond. That was what I used. I didn't use the Toronto notes mainly, but I used one called the Bots and Beyond. That is videos because I mostly like learning with like videos and all that. So that's what I used, and it was very helpful for me. So basically the ACE Kill Bank, the Canada Kill Bank, the CKMB2, then the Toronto notes. Then if you have the subscription for Bots and Beyond, that is also very good. Then I think those would be the major ones that you would want to use here in Canada. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think the last question for Dr. Muti is, could you please let us know how to get the clinical associated programs or the graduate assistant programs here, physician associated programs here?
Okay, so for the clinical assistance programs, as I already stated, for you to be able to get it there, it also depends on the province. Some province have the physician associates program. Some province do not have. Ontario doesn't have. Ontario has the clinical assistantship program. That's why I'm doing clinical assistantship program. And for the requirements, what they look at is they look at your resume, like your CV, making sure that you've indeed gone through the training and done things that are in line with being like assisting a doctor. Then they also look at you having the licentiate and the LMCC, that is the licentiate of medical of the Medical Council of Canada. That certificate itself is actually obtained when you do the MCCQE. So you don't need to write all the exams before you can get that one. So when you write MCCQE, you get the LMCC, which is the certificate. And that certificate is majorly needed for you to be able to apply across board for those the clinical assistantship position and the physician associate position. And of course, you do not need to join any agency. There are different places you can apply. Indeed, there's a place called Indeed that you can always check for new jobs that have been posted, and also LinkedIn also has ways that you can also check for new jobs that have been also posted, and you can apply through there. Or you can go in person, do walk-ins, and go in the hospital, the clinics, and give your resume to them, especially the new clinics that have been opened. You can just walk in and give your resume to them. They will go through and call you. That is also another one means that you can do. Then for this, there are certain provinces like Alberta like this. When you go there, they require that you have written the English proficiency in addition. So if your English proficiency, which lasts for 2 years, has expired, you would need to rewrite it to be able to apply for physician associates programs in places like Alberta, Saskatchewan, and all those upper parts, the northern part. You need to write the IELTS again. So basically, it's about the provincial like requirements. Yeah.
Yes, please. I see Michael is doing well with the chats. Yeah, answering his questions. Um, please, what is clinical assistantship like? Is it like a nursing position to Dr. Muti?
Oh, no, 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 it's not a nursing position. Actually, where I'm working, I do pap smear, so you can imagine. It's more of that you are still working as a doctor, but because you don't have the license, you are working under supervision. You will be allowed to take
Mm.
histories, do examination, do all the procedures that the clinic does. If it is about like high vaginal swab, for example, let's say I did ONG. I do the ONG aspect for my doctor, high vaginal swab, pap smear, and all those things, the testing and other things. So you do everything that you do as a doctor, just that you don't have the license to work as a doctor. So it's still under supervision. So everything you do is reviewed. But it's like you have the autonomy to, like you don't have the autonomy to work, but you are still working as a doctor. That's why we call you a clinical assistant or a physician associate. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, please. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Okay. To Dr. to Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Please, can you talk briefly about how you applied for the MPH? Are there any exams to write or any scholarship opportunities available?
So the MPH application process is also like it's also a lot on its own. But briefly, the major things you need for if you want to apply for an MPH program in the US, most of the schools of public health in the US have a centralized application system, which is called the SOPHAS, SOPHAS. So you need to create a SOPHAS account. You need to get your transcript verified and converted from the Ghanaian system to the US system. So there are different agencies that do this transcript evaluation. The most common is World Education Services, WES. So one, create a Sophos account. Two, create a WES account and get your transcript verified. The verified transcript from WES will then be sent to Sophos. On Sophos, you can choose or select all the schools you want to apply to, complete the specific requirements for each school. Mostly, you need a personal statement for each specific school you apply to, and then recommendation letters, at least 3 recommendation letters. which will be applicable to all the schools that you apply to. So yeah, that's the most important things. You don't need to write any specific exam. Some people say that writing like maybe a GRE or GMAT helps your application, but then most schools now list on their websites that they do not even consider the GRE or GMAT in your application. Yeah.
Okay.
But if the person really wants to pursue the MPH, they can reach out and we can see how best we can support them.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. So Nisi is asking a follow-up question to what she asked earlier about whether if you want to use the MPH pathway, you still need to complete the 2 years of house job. And she's asking again that what if you want to come back to Ghana afterwards? What would that mean if you miss completing the house job?
Yeah, obviously, if you have plans of returning to Ghana and practicing in Ghana, then it would make much more sense to make sure that you have your permanent license before leaving. Um, I left in August and I was supposed to have completed my second year of house job later that year. Thankfully for me, I was still able to get my permanent license. So I don't have like any issue returning to Ghana because I still have my Ghanaian permanent license.
Okay.
However, if I hadn't got it, I would have still left anyway because I honestly don't have any plans of coming back to practice in Ghana. So you need to like weigh what you want. If you want to go back, then I would advise you to get your permanent license. If not, forget about it.
Hey, thank you. Also, one of the viewers from YouTube is asking whether there was a reason why you didn't go to John Hopkins or that option wasn't IMG friendly.
No, so I actually got the Dean Scholarship from Johns Hopkins and an additional scholarship.
Okay.
The total scholarship I got was I think 32,000, and there was an opportunity to get a little bit more. However, at the time, their cost of tuition was a little bit higher. I think the tuition alone is like 80K. Granted, they do have this partnership with Get Fund. So each year they give a list of students, like Ghanaian students coming to Johns Hopkins to Get Fund. And those students are able to secure like additional funding from Get Fund. At the time I got in, I didn't know about this. So I only looked at like the cost of attendance against the scholarship I got. And also the fact that Johns Hopkins, their program is like a year. Actually, it's 11 months. So it's very intense. And I wanted a program where I would be able to have the time to build connections and also complete my USMLE. I have a couple of friends who went to Johns Hopkins and they have not been able to complete the steps. Obviously, the other people who have also gone there and are able to complete it. But the thing is, it's an 11-month program. It's very intense. The cost of attendance is high. So if you don't get like a good funding from the school, or if you are unable to secure additional funding through Get Fund, or if you don't have any family to like support the deficit, then at the time it made much more sense for me to go to like a school with an obviously better funding. So my school gave me a graduate assistantship where it covered like about 85 to 90% of my tuition and cost of attendance. It also gave me like a monthly stipend. So comparing those two, it made much more sense for me to just go to GW, which was a 2-year program, better funding, equally like well renowned. Obviously, Johns Hopkins is the best school of public health because it was the first school of public health that was established.
Okay.
Yes, it was the first school of public health that was established. So in the public health circles, it's very renowned. But then when I was applying, I went to a portal to search for the best schools of public health in the US. And I made sure to apply to a couple of the schools in like the top schools in the US. And my school is among the top schools of public health. So, but the thing is, the the name of the school does not really matter if your end goal is not to do public health full time. If your end goal is just to get a public health degree, get the knowledge and the skills, and then ultimately match into a residency program, you are better off going to a school that offers you like better funding than going to a school because of the name, even though they do not offer as much funding. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. I think the questions are well exhausted. If there's anyone on the call who would like to ask any question personally, please, the floor is open in the next 2 minutes. Okay. So we'd like to appreciate everyone who joined tonight, from our medical students to the health officers, the medical officers, and even residents at large. I'd like to acknowledge you all. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. And I know that you are wondering whether to go to Canada or the US after today's session, but trust me, there's more. There's more, and you wouldn't want to miss them more. So we meet again, same time, 5 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, there's another question here. It says that how do we reach you if we are interested in applying for MPH in the USA? That is to Michael. Yeah.
I'll be glad to assist. Just reach out on LinkedIn. My name is Michael Oforiansa. On X, my X handle is Mambapa. Or Mambapa if you're my name. But yeah, just you can reach out on X or LinkedIn, or you can reach out to the organizers of the program. And yeah, they'll get you in touch with me.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Okay. So kindly note that after the session, there would be a feedback form. So you fill out, you let us know your experiences and anything you would like to be touched on in the next session. And also, Dr. Ansa, can we please get the slides?
Yeah, can I attach it here?
Um,
Yeah, let me see if I can just drop it here.
okay. Okay.
Okay, I think I'll be able to drop it in the chat.
Mhm. Dr. Muti, please, people would like to reach you. So how do we reach you as well?
Oh, the same for me. LinkedIn, I think you can always reach out, like Muti Ajekum.
Okay.
My first name Mutin Ajekum. Yeah. Agyeikum. Yeah. You can always reach out. I will reply your messages, as many as you have.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You are kindly reminded of tomorrow's meeting. There's more. Trust me, there's more, and you wouldn't want to miss it. Okay. So, as we draw the curtains, we'd like to invite Dr. Okay. I think Dr. Martin is not around currently, so let me just make it quick. Can we please pray? Okay. So with one accord, we pray. Thank you so much, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, for tonight's meeting. Thank you for the insight. Thank you for bringing people our way to share. Thank you that you've helped us thus far. We pray that for us, many of us who are interested in pursuing our careers outside Ghana, we pray that even as we've been enlightened, may these insights, may these advantages help us advance even as we prepare in our applications, among others. We pray and commit our audience into your hands. We pray and commit our speakers, our resource personnel. Pray that you keep us, you guide us, you bless us. And until we meet again, may everything we do be prosperous. In Jesus' name we pray with so much thanksgiving. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Can I see your reactions if you enjoyed tonight's program? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's acknowledge our speakers. Let's acknowledge the resource personnel. Let's acknowledge the people behind this. Thank you so much. And see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Please don't be late. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.